I never really gave it much thought. It wasn't my intention to become a writer. I'm not sure if I actually think of myself as a writer, more of a storyteller. I had a pretty trying childhood, and A Life Not My Own was actually a manuscript. It started as a diary, and I got to a point where I thought it might be helpful to other people who have been through similar struggles. So I decided to publish. It was definitely soul cleansing. Like I said, it started as a diary, and I had no intention on sharing it with anyone. Um, but at some point, I somehow found the strength to put it out there in the hopes that it would help others. I just finished reading Your Love is King by Adrienne Thompson. She's an independent author also, and I believe this is her 10th book. And I was just amazed at how quickly I became engulfed with her story. Well, not so important now that I finally got a life, but at one point that was my only interaction outside of a very dark place. I like shows that are engaging. So right now, as far as TV, if I am watching TV, it'll probably be something like Scandal. I love that. When it comes to movies, I'm straight up old school classic movies. I like Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman. I like the old. I like shows about family. About a really stable family, like Leave It to Beaver or something like that. You know, I I just needed to see that there was something more than what I was experiencing at the time. I don't think so. I mean, actually, going in the Army was the furthest from my mind. Um, Actually, it felt like a message from God to me. I was really struggling at the time. Not to say that I was the only person struggling. It was just, the economy had taken a dive in 1986. And I already had a bachelor's degree in psychology, and it seemed as though it was just going to waste, partially because of the economy and partially because of some really bad decisions that I had made. And so I'm just walking along, and the thought comes to mind, why don't you try the service? And the thought was so strong that I knew it didn't come from me. And I just went for it. For the most part, unfortunately, no. You know, I truly believe that, sometimes you cross paths with an individual and there is just that instant, you know, um, task that that individual is supposed to provide. And once that's done, it's done. You never see that person again. Um, the one person who I'm still in constant contact with is my grandmother. We talk every Sunday, and she is very aware of how I feel about her, about the sacrifices that she made for my brother, my sister, and I. Um, Other than that, I'm afraid I haven't been able to reach out to, to other folks. Amazing. And I'm still discovering that. When you become a mom yourself, you you see the impact even more that your parents had on you or the people who raised you had on you. Um, One story. I never thought of it as that she was creating a tradition when she would buy us new PJs every Christmas. I never thought of her as creating a tradition. And I don't think she did either. But when I had my kids, I would buy them new PJs every Christmas. And now my kids are grown and they still expect those PJs. That would be too much to tell you because I plan on writing a second piece to A Life Not My Own. And hopefully I'll find the strength to cover some of that in the next one. I've told them from the very beginning the kinds of things to look for when it comes to, having relationships with people. And I still struggle with the idea that there are bad people, you know. I feel that any individual is capable of doing just about anything, under the right circumstances or sometimes the wrong circumstances. Um, so my kids, they've always been aware of the indications that should point them in the right direction in terms of making a decision about what certain people are into. But in the end, people go with their heart. No, she really didn't talk too much about Betty's past. I think it was just a struggle for her, to be able to share the details like that. My grandmother's very old school, and talking about someone who, in a negative way, who is no longer with us is just taboo for her, especially her daughter. Honestly, when I hear people describe me in that way, as far as courage or inspirational, it feels foreign because I guess because it's me, you know, I I don't look at it that way. It's just me telling you how things were for me. Actually, my urban psychology teacher. Her name is Dr. Sir Fair. Um, she was the most difficult teacher I ever had. And prior to taking her class, I thought I was pretty squared away, pretty smart. But she really challenged me. And as a result, I think she really helped me take my writing to the next level. Summer Place was in um, Virginia, outside of Heatsville, Virginia. It's a little small town called Brown Store. Not sure if it still exists. It's been over 20 years since I was down there. My second book, Struggles of the Womenfolk, is loosely based on that area because my grandmother was originally from that area. And my second book, Struggles of the Womenfolk, is based on stories that my grandmother shared with me growing up. So I just took those threads that she gave me and created additional characters and a storyline around it. Probably about 15 years ago, if not more. Um, I sort of wrote, like I said, I wrote this as a diary. And I mean, there were months that I would just write a little bit each day. And then I started refining it. And I think it was maybe the year 2000 when the book was complete as far as the manuscript. But my life at that time was not at a point where I could really share such intimate details that I hadn't really shared with my family. So I guess I had the mindset to at least transfer my manuscript over to various uh, formats. Started off on like a 3x8 floppy disk, and then went to, a hard drive, and then finally landed on a geek stick, that I carried around with me for a very long time until I got that magic email, that invited me to publish. Absolutely. I mean, I think that individuals who read this book who may know me personally, it's obvious that there's pieces missing from the book as far as, my life story. But I hope that the story is written in such a way that it doesn't, that the readers will still like it even with those pieces missing.